Hello traders, John at StockBookie.com. Today we're looking at the SPY, the IWM, the Qs, the DIA, the IYT, the USO, the UUP, and the GLD. We follow the daily, weekly, monthly time frames. We use technical analysis here at StockBookie.com. Let's get right into the daily SPY. We were down 72 cents on the day, 66 million shares, very light volume. But again, it pulled back below the 20 MA. Yesterday we recaptured it, but I still want to see confirmation, which we didn't have. We hit the 618, came right back on light volume, and a slew of earnings that actually weren't that great. You have 3M out there falling. You had Whirlpool getting smacked. You had Under Armour getting smacked. Some of these better stocks, which should be leading the way, and they're not. So be careful. I truly believe these stocks are talking to us, and they've made tops within the last 4 or 5 months, and they're pulling. Tech's leading the way. That will be the next one to go down, in my opinion. Right now, we're in a bearish inside bar, setting up for lower prices. If you are a bull in these markets, you need to get above this trend line. You need to fill these gaps. You need to ultimately fill the gap up here, get back to the all-time high, which is 219.60, recapture 220, and possibly higher prices. And until then, I think we're going down to the 207 area, and ultimately we're going to fill this gap down here at 199.66 and 203.14. That's in my opinion, but I think it's going to happen, and it's going to happen soon. Maybe hard to say. I'm not going to give a time frame, but it's going to happen. Look at this big inside bar pattern here as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks of consolidation. We've been talking. If this thing sets up and goes sideways for weeks and weeks and weeks, it is setting up for lower prices. You even have the 192.20 area on the weekly 200 moving average, which, you know what, we haven't touched that in since October, since it's been coming up on October. It has never touched it. So that's telling me eventually it will get to that price in the near future. So just be aware of that, especially if you're long in these markets. Let's go to the IWM. IWM, again, a lagging indicator. Not good for the markets. We were down 91 cents today on the day. Nothing big, but the one thing that caught my eye is that we're below this trend line again. They've been holding it and holding it and holding it. They tried to make a move up here into the 20 MA. It rejected it. You also had, these high pivots here. You had that high pivot there. Boom, right back down, right back below. We're going to see the action tomorrow. Apple did have earnings today, and a couple of other ones. They were okay, but Apple ended up pulling back a little bit. We're going to see if that one possibly helps lead the market down tomorrow. Keep an eye on the volume on the SPY, though. If it's light, they can possibly float it up on some bull news. Bull crap news. How about that, guys? But again, we're holding this 20 MA on the weekly on the IWM. I want to see it close below that area. We're an inside bar. They tried shooting it up, never closed above, came right back in, bouncing it again. Another retrace. This one was 100% retrace. This one's, let's see if we get a little bit higher. If not, this thing ends up closing below the 20 MA on a weekly close. I'm thinking lower prices, 113, 112. Ultimately around the 108 area, but one day at a time, guys. I don't want to get too excited, but again, lagging indicator. Here's your all-time highs. Here's where we're at now. IWM should be leading the way, not lagging the way. Qs too tried to break out yesterday. It actually made a new all-time high, or 52-week high, and bam, came right in, reversed, and now with Apple and everything, I think we're possibly gap down tomorrow, but right now, hard to say. Anything, we might gap up 100 points and this thing rips again. But at this point, with the futures, we are down a little bit after hours here, or during the night session, when China and all those are going. But again, we popped up, closed above the all-time high, reversed. Tomorrow it looks like we possibly reverse down. We're going to see how low we go tomorrow, unless they keep it buoyant or some more earnings come out and they're actually good and they counter Apple and a couple of the other ones that had bad earnings today. But yeah, I mean, this is another one that this thing should be breaking out. Every time it tries to break out, it comes right back in. But yeah, we're holding this trend line up here at 119.23, and let's see if we get some lower prices tomorrow, if it just stays buoyant with some earnings coming out. I'm not sure what's coming out tomorrow. I'll take a look at that later on tonight. But on the weekly basis, again, I want to see on a weekly close above the old all-time high, which is like right around 119.50 or something like that. It did pop up, came right back in. Let's see where this thing closes on Friday. Let's go to the DIA. The DIA, same thing as the SPY. It's pretty much mimicking the SPY. You know, I don't really follow, I mean, I follow this, but it's only 30, 30 stocks in this index. So, you know, it's really not telling us much, but other than a bearish pattern, we are below the 50 and the 20 MA once again. Let's see if we could get some lower prices. The big area that we want to break is 179.94 or 180, let's say. If it breaks that, then we're definitely going down to the 176.71. And then ultimately, just like the SPY, we have a gap, gap window, gap fill, ultimately around 170, 129, then the low pivot around 170 or so. But again, I believe this thing's setting up for lower prices. I love this bearish pattern. The only way it's going to get not play out, it needs to pop up, it needs to get over this, if you extend this trend line here, there it goes. Try to get above it. We're back below it again. Needs to get above the moving averages. Then needs to hit these pivots, fill the gap, and then get back to the 186, 88 area, and then possibly shoot for 190. But until then, this one's going down, in my opinion. Let's look at the weekly. Weekly chart, same thing. Inside bar closed. This one didn't close below, but it's starting to go sideways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks sideways. Trying to get above this. That was that trend line from the daily. Got above it, below it, tried to get above it. Now we're back below it. This thing cracks the 180 area. I believe we're going here, and ultimately even to the 167.09 if this 170 area pivot cracks. But these bearish pattern and highs, let me tell you, when they play out, look the hell out. Just be very, very careful in these markets, guys. IYT, another one, another lagging indicator. Let's look at the weekly really quick. This thing should be leading. It is not. High is 167.89. Not even close. Until that time, or even let's see it get above the 151. The 151 area. If it can even do that. Right now we have. Let's go to the daily. Let's go to the daily really quick. So the IYT again, we're down sideways, bearish pattern, and tried getting it above the 20 MA here. Actually closed below it. We filled the gap and got below. So let's see if we can continue down off this bearish pattern. Next step is 142, then 143, 142. Ultimately, you have a gap right here at 140.51, and then the double bottom at 138.92, and then the 200 moving average right at 138 if it really starts to rumble. If the markets start correcting, I still believe we could get to 134. There's a big gap right here at 129. Then ultimately at the 127.15. So if you're not short this, you can just use this high 147 or maybe 151 as a stop out. Go half here, add more here. If it goes up, add one more time, and then possibly just just exit. But why is this thing up there? That's my volume. Huh. So that's the daily chart. Let's get right into the weekly chart. Something happened with my volume. I don't know. It came up there. I have no idea what's going on here. But anyways, on the weekly chart, you had a nice bullish consolidation. Every time it tries to pop up, somebody comes in and pushes this thing down. You have an inside bar bullish pattern here, inside bar bullish pattern here, but this thing should be ripping up. I mean, we have 8-9 weeks of consolidation. This thing should be terrorizing right now. Again, it's a lagging indicator. Here's the highs, not even close. This bullish pattern should have been ripping a long time ago. But with the non-volume, no way this thing's going up. So we tried to get into the 750 retrace. Keeps getting rejected. If this pattern fails, we are going downtown on this chart big time. So just be aware of that. Let's look at the USO. See if my volume can stay here. So USO, let's go to the daily. So the USO is coming in again. Remember, they brought it back up, inside bar, bearish pattern, popped it up again, get the shorts to get out. Oh, here it goes, RBC, everyone's upgrading it. They talked to Saudi Arabia. They're all going to do it. They talk to Putin, all that crap that you hear on CNBC. Comes right back in, starting to fall. We're still holding the 382 retrace, but let's see if we can continue the downward slide here. But we are below the 20 MA. We need to stay below that, and we need to get below this green line as well. We do. Next level is going to be around the 1088. We'll probably stop at 11 bucks or so. We got a couple gap. We got a gap here. We got a gap down here, 1088. So we have some gaps, but this is a decent bearish pattern at the highs. This one can possibly move in. Let's go to the weekly. Weekly as well. We talked about this one in our live session today. Or did we? I'm not sure if we did. But again, we got above the 20 and the 50. Never confirmed. Coming back down. We're at that 382 retrace. For me, I am bearish. We added more shorts at here, 1166 area. This continues down. We're looking for a close below the MAs again. 618, you'll have some support. And this blue line at 10 bucks, you'll have some good support as well. And if this line ultimately cracks, this trend line down at the bottom here, you're going to be in trouble on the USL. I still think we're going for lower prices. I still think we could get back to double bottom at 768 if the markets start to implode. But overall, we're making higher lows here, which is a little bit bullish. But if this trend line cracks, this area 923 cracks, we're definitely going right back down to here and possibly lower. But we'll have to take this one each step at a time. And each day, we get new values and a new piece of the puzzle. Let's go into the, let's do the UUP, the dollar. So the dollar moved up today a little bit more, and then it came right back in. Moved up on the day, pulled it back, chopped around, stayed pretty much stable until the close. We closed a penny down on the UUP, nothing big. But the thing that catches my eye is that, we came up and we had a nice reversal down. They came back, filled the gap, and then we chopped around here for the rest of the day. But we did come back and fill the gap. We did get to this, 2560 area. But he didn't make this trend line. I would have loved to have seen us hit that trend line, but it just didn't quite make that. And why isn't this thing? Hold on here. My charts are. There we go. But yeah, so we reversed down. Let's look at the weekly. You can see this a little bit better. So the weekly, we have a little bit of a topping tail going on, but I want to show you this trend line. So you have this big trend line connecting the dots. That's going to be huge resistance as well as the gap fill around 28.87 or 25.87. I still think we can get to 26.12 if this thing, starts shooting straight up. This thing moves up into this area, possibly 26.49. You would see gold in the USO or oil tanking at that point. So let's get back into the GLD. So with the dollar kind of stable, you had the GLD up 91 cents on the day. So as the dollar was pulling back, dollar down, gold up. We tried to make a bit, we tried to recapture this little pivot high in the 20 MA. Didn't make that, but we did close above the 200 MA. We still are in a bearish pattern, but now we're starting to recapture the MAs. Let's see what happens tomorrow, or do we continue sideways? You do have a slight micro bullish pattern, but overall you have the big bearish pattern here. And with the dollar moving up, I think this can move down. This was probably a little bit of gold buying on Apple and earnings, and people going, earnings aren't really coming in that good. 3M's getting killed, Whirlpool, Under Armour, that EW got smoked today. There's a lot of them. And these earnings are coming up. Amazon, Chipotle got smoked, not smoked, but it's down again. You got to watch out for these stocks, especially the high flyers. They're all going to start coming in, guys. So anyways, I still think gold can go down. I keep showing you these levels, 115.71, 112.40, and ultimately this gap filled down in here. I'll put a right around 109.18 or so, and you have the window right here around 110. Even 110. You get down into this area, that's going to be a great long. You could probably start adding here, but let's see if this bearish pattern sets up to give us lower prices. Let's go to the weekly really quick here. Weekly, same thing. You have a big inside bar setting up for lower prices. If this retraces back up here, I'd probably take this thing short, but we'll see if we can recapture. Ultimately, if you can recapture this big red bar around 125 and then 127.91, we could probably go for the double top at 131.09. But let's see if these bearish patterns play out. If I could get a lower price, even 115, 112, 110, that would be epic for gold. So, all right, guys, right now, with Apple earnings, today, mediocre. They were down a couple bucks, no big deal. They were into support. Let's see what happens tonight with the Asian markets and the Australian markets and pretty much everything in general. If they start leading the way down, then you got to keep an eye on everything else. But for now, guys, thanks for coming and watching my videos. Thanks for coming to the live sessions. I love doing this stuff. If you have any questions or comments, please send it at stockbookie@gmail.com, or anything I could do better, let me know. But thanks again, everybody, for coming to my videos and watching them. And God bless. See you on the charts.